It's nice to see everyone. As Mr. Acosta explained to you guys, I'm from FIU. My name is Greg Maloney. I'm the director of the logistics program at FIU within the College of Business. I'm also one of the professors in the program. I teach a bunch of classes in there and also do everything I can to kind of build the program, teach people about it, and bring in awesome students like you into our program so we can give you guys degrees and hopefully help you make lots of money. So what am I here to talk to you about today? I'm here to talk to you about careers in logistics. Who here thinks that they might be interested in a career in logistics? Nobody? Isn't this a logistics class? No? Well, I know you do, but you're already in logistics. What about someone else? Anyone here? If nobody wants to be in logistics, what kind of careers are you guys thinking about? Yeah. Sports administration. That's cool. That is a very cool career. A lot of fun, right? Get to hang out with athletes and maybe go to like football games and stuff like that, right? So every job obviously has some fun aspects, but it's not all fun, right? There's work involved with it all. Did you want to add something in also? What was that? Okay. Okay. Anyone else have any career that they're interested in that they're already thinking about? You guys are what? Juniors, seniors, sophomore? Nick, what do we have in here? It's a mix? Okay. So if you don't know what you want to do with your career at this age, that's okay. But it is important to kind of pick something and go with something. You can always change your mind later. You know, when I went to college, I thought I wanted to be a psychologist. I started studying psychology. I went to that university, um, not FIU, and I studied psychology for a while. I thought that was really cool. And then I got to the end, and somebody reminded me that psychologists sit around and listen to other people's problems all day. And I was like, hey, I got enough of my own problems. I don't want to listen to other people's problems. So I ended up switching. I switched my career a couple times before I ended up where I am. So it's okay to switch. But the idea is you just want to pick something and go with it. You're not going to know whether you like a particular career until you actually try it out a little bit. And logistics has got some really cool, interesting stuff. I didn't bring the presentation that I normally do when people come to visit, which I should have done. I'll do that next time you bring me in, Nick. But I talk about things like what do people think about when they think about careers in logistics? And a lot of people will initially say things like, well, containers, boxes, and warehouses, and things like that. But when I think about logistics, I think about other products that need supply chains in order to be successful. Like one of my favorite ones to talk about is sushi. You know, does anyone here like sushi? Okay. Well, most of the sushi that you eat, at restaurants here was not caught out in the Atlantic right outside of Miami Beach. You know, a lot of it's caught in South America. If you go to a really fancy place, you might be getting tuna from Japan or something like that. How does that all get here and not spoil and make you sick when you're eating this raw fish when it's coming from across the world? It's because of logistics. Logistics, businesses make that happen. It's not as like in the forefront. You don't see what people do with logistics as much. You only really hear about it when something happens, right? You guys remember during COVID when you couldn't get toilet paper? That was awful, right? Well, that's because the supply chain with the logistics kind of broke down during that period, and very basic things like toilet paper that we want to get access to became more difficult. So, not saying toilet paper is an exciting industry or anything like that, but that is where you kind of finally get to see where logistics comes in. And people, again, you don't really know that it's there. It's kind of working in the background. But every business needs logistics. I like to talk about in that presentation iPhones. Who here has an iPhone? Okay, it's about half. That seems statistically accurate. Okay. iPhones. iPhones, to me, are a really interesting product. If you guys aren't aware, there's materials in iPhones that come from like 50 different countries. There's manufacturing plants all over the world that contribute to iPhones. And on top of that, when they come out with a new iPhone, the very first weekend that it comes out, they sell over 1 million of these phones. 1 million in like a 2-day period. I mean, the logistics and all the stuff that goes into creating these products and getting them out there is mind-boggling. It's not just Apple's not just a company with fancy marketing and fancy retail stores. They're a huge logistics operation. Now, the other thing that I always talk about is Coca-Cola. Who here likes Coca-Cola? Who's a Pepsi fan? They're kind of the same thing, right? Right? Does anyone think Coke and Pepsi are different? Okay. Coca-Cola every day sells over 1 million drinks. Every single day. So just think about all the planning and everything that goes into doing something like that. So if you count fast food, it would be even more. But just cans and just items that they bottle on their own, they sell over 1 million every day. It's just mind-boggling the amount of, you think about how big the world is, right? People think about things usually in terms of their local community. But there's close to 8 billion people in the world. They all buy products. They all buy products from big companies. How do those products get made in mass amounts and get distributed? That's all through logistics and companies' logistical supply chain that happens in the back end. So if there's any industry that you're possibly interested in, any type of product, any type of company that excites you, I guarantee they have a logistics and a supply chain group. So if you're looking for, job security or maybe just a good job, there's a lot of opportunity out there. Who here wants to be a doctor one day? Like a medical doctor? Anyone? What about a PhD doctor? It's a lot easier. On a daily basis, at least. What about lawyer? Anyone here want to be a lawyer? Okay, we got one person who wants to be a lawyer. I'm sure you guys know people that are lawyers. Lawyer is a great career. After you spend, 4 years or so in law school and you take the bar exam and you do all that kind of stuff, you can make a lot of money and have a really kind of exciting career. However, did you know that there's more students in law school right now than there are practicing attorneys in the U.S.? It's an interesting statistic, right? More students in law school than there are practicing attorneys in the U.S. So when you get through and you pass the bar, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of other lawyers out there or recent law graduates that want to get a job at a big law firm or maybe start their own law firm. You know where there are not more students than there are job opportunities? Logistics. In fact, we have more jobs coming to FIU right now from companies that are looking to hire than we actually have students. So think about that for a second. That is a very rare thing. You don't see that in any other degree. And we're in the College of Business, and that's where people are hiring. Yes? I mean, you can look up averages. I think the average that you'll show within like a new career is going to be somewhere in like the 60 to 80 range. But it varies drastically based on what area of logistics you want to go into. So like with what I was talking about earlier, if you want to drive a truck, actually truck drivers make a lot of money. But if you want to drive a truck, that's one area. If you want to work in a warehouse, that's one area. If you want to work for a company that manufactures something and you're going to somehow work within their supply chain and like procuring the raw materials that they use to build their products, that could make you a little bit more money. If you work in a company that does perishable items, like the sushi stuff I was talking about earlier, or even, here we have a lot of industry where we're bringing in like produce from South America. People that work in those areas tend to make a lot of money, maybe 80 grand or more to start. If you want to do import-export type things and international business, and you want to end up getting your customs brokerage license, you can easily make over 100,000 without that much experience. So there's a range, but if you want to make a lot of money, there's jobs there where you can make a lot of money. If you want to have a little more of a relaxing career, there's jobs there too. They just maybe don't quite pay as much, but you're a lot less stressed out. But that's the other cool thing about logistics is there's this wide range of stuff that you can do. And people don't tend to really know a lot about logistics careers. When I was your age, I had no idea what the heck logistics was. And everything that I was thinking about going into careers was doctor, lawyer, architect, these professional careers that your guidance counselors will typically talk to you about. People don't really talk to people your age a lot about logistics careers. So that's why I'm here. That's why Mr. Acosta brought me in today to kind of share with you guys some of the opportunities as far as what it would be like working in logistics. But there are a lot of really awesome careers within logistics that people are just not aware of, that if you end up coming to FIU, you could end up getting into. So what do you study at our program at FIU? Well, first of all, we're within the College of Business. And like I was saying earlier, College of Business is really right now where a lot of hiring is happening, right? Businesses are looking for business people to help them run their businesses. We get lots and lots of companies coming in looking to hire our students. There's a lot of other degrees out there that are really interesting. And if you want to go into something, one of the other ones, that's great. You can go into an education degree and end up being a teacher or work within schools and stuff like that. You can go into arts and science type degrees, but the hiring and the jobs that are available in those areas aren't as numerous as what we tend to have within the College of Business. And within the College of Business, when you're talking about the number of jobs that are out there compared to the number of students that we have, it really is like the best ratio out of anything. So, what kind of careers involve logistics? Again, it could be just about any different type of business that you could think of. Has anyone ever heard of Bacardi, the rum company? Okay, so before I went to FIU, I worked at Bacardi for like 15 years. And Bacardi, you might think of as, a beverage company that has to distribute their beverages. But there's a huge logistics component to it. And I was involved in the part of the company that would buy the sugar cane that was used to make all the raw materials and procure the bottles and the labels and all that kind of stuff. And there's all these things that happen on the back end that really any consumer product is going to have. If you don't want to do something with cool consumer products like that, there's all of these other warehouse companies that are responsible for bringing products in and out of the country. You can help working with those companies and help coordinate shipments. You guys see those big ships that come into the Port of Miami? No one ever drive by the Port of Miami, you see those giant ships with all those containers on it, look like they're about to fall over, they're so stacked. Well, there's people that their jobs are just to coordinate what goes into those containers, how many containers you can fit on a ship, price out all of that stuff. It's actually really interesting if you're into like organizing things and doing puzzles and stuff like that. There's some really cool jobs related to just dealing with moving products around and things like that. And then one of the other really big components of logistics is technology. So every company is going to have computers that kind of run all of the back-end stuff within the company that make sure, again, all the materials are purchased, the inventory is kept in the right way, the customers are billed, and you receive the money. And you might think, oh, okay, well, that's IT people. Well, no, IT people write the programs. Logistics people are the ones that manage them and use them. So if you're a strong technical person, you can run one of these systems that kind of keeps a company up and running. And there's all these other really cool technologies that are coming out now that I think you guys are very aware of because of Mr. Acosta, things like drones, like AI technology, blockchain, really cool new technology that's coming out that is really going to be kind of like the next level of how things get moved around and get delivered. Amazon is ready to start sending things with drones to your house. They're just waiting on the FAA to approve it. But once that happens, there's going to have to be groups of people that are going to work at Amazon and other companies. They're going to be managing these kind of like these flocks of drones. They're going to be flying around and dropping things off. So other really cool things that you can get into if that's something that's interesting to you. Again, if you like interesting and challenging jobs, if you like kind of like doing puzzles and working things out, if you like making lots of money and not having to compete with thousands of other people for jobs, logistics is a great place for that. So what happens if you come to FIU? Well, the first thing is that, again, I mentioned that I went to that school for my degree, and it's a great school, and there's lots of great schools that you can go to here in South Florida and elsewhere, depending on what's interesting to you. I will tell you that my degrees at that university, I just recently finished paying off the student loans. So if you don't want to get into a whole lot of debt within your college career, FIU is a really good option. Hopefully, do any of you guys have Florida prepaid? Do you know? Okay. That's awesome. If your parents set that up, that is a great opportunity to now come in and get a really affordable education. If you haven't done that, it's okay. There's something called Bright Futures that you can qualify for with a certain GPA and a certain SAT or ACT score. If you get Bright Futures, that'll cover 75% to 100% of your tuition at FIU or any other state school. And then there's all these other scholarships too that you can look into. I don't know how many of you, again, are upperclassmen, but if you're a junior or senior, you should be thinking about this stuff now. There's a website called Raise Me where you can also go apply for scholarships. And I know students that are coming into FIU right now that are just starting that are getting paid to go to college. Think about that. Between Bright Futures and Raise Me, and then there's also all these other scholarships you can apply for at FIU. Students are coming in, not only do they not have to pay for anything, but they're getting checks back to go to college. So if that is something that's interesting to you, and when I say that, I mean getting an awesome degree and not having a whole bunch of debt when you graduate, which, trust me, that's a really smart approach to take from someone who had debt for a long time and had to pay it off. Going in, getting a degree, and then coming out and not having to owe the government or somebody else a bunch of money for the degree that you just got is awesome. And based on what you were asking before earlier, you could come through, get a degree, pay little to nothing, and then after 4 years get a job making $80,000 a year. Man, that sounds like a pretty good life, right? Doing something exciting also. You know, it's not all just moving toilet paper across the ocean. There's a lot of really cool and exciting things within these careers. So, what happens if you go to FIU? Again, hopefully you'll get scholarships. You'll have things that'll help make it very affordable. But what you'll end up doing after taking all of the core business classes, and the business classes are important. You know, I'm a professor. I'm in the academic world right now, but I'm big into the value of business and understanding how to run a business. So I really kind of enjoy being in the College of Business. I feel like this is where students should be if you want to be making money and be valuable to a company. Did you want to ask something? Yes. So my office is at MMC, but sometimes I teach at the BBC campus. And we've got like satellite programs in Panama and Peru that I've taught in. We've got things in other campuses in the Caribbean. I taught a program in Washington, D.C. once, but I'm based out of the main campus. But are you asking? Oh, okay. What is she studying? Okay, so she's at the Biscayne Bay campus, which is right near where I live. It's one of my favorite campuses. In fact, that is my favorite campus. Beautiful campus. They've got that big restaurant thing in the back that's really cool. And that is an awesome program. The hospitality program at FIU is a great program. And we in the College of Business, when our students graduate and open restaurants, we look forward to hiring the students from the hospital. I'm just kidding. Not really, though, because that is, for sure, a little bit how it works, is, you know, the people that are looking to kind of create businesses and start businesses typically will go through a business degree. People looking to work in that area will end up going through the hospitality program. And it's a great program. You know, again, working at Bacardi, I was very involved in the hospitality industry for a while. It's also a really tough industry. A lot of people, back to the toilet paper with COVID, during COVID when a lot of restaurants and places shut down, it was really tough on people in that area. But we have a lot of crossover. So hospitality, a lot of hospitality people get hired by the cruise industry. And they'll hire a lot of people to kind of work in all the areas where, has anyone here been on a cruise? Okay, so the people that you interact with on the cruise that are employees there, they're typically going to be hospitality grads. The people that work on the back end to make sure that all the food gets loaded on the ship, that all the people get moved in at the right time, that all the people get on the ship and back before it leaves each one of the ports, those are all logistics people. Again, you just don't see them as much. And that's the other kind of thing about logistics is it's, again, more, I've said this a couple times, more of the stuff on the back end. So it's not as visible, which is why, again, if you're interested in it, and it is booming right now, and maybe also, you know, if you don't want to be interacting with customers and have to smile at people, you know, every day, even when you're in a bad mood, you can do the logistics piece in the background and still be kind of working in the same space. So if you end up coming to FIU, which again, great school, a lot of other great schools too though, but I want you guys to get degrees and to help kind of create awesome careers for yourselves. So FIU can do that for you, UF can do that for you, FSU, Nova. Really, there's a lot of great schools down here. But the key is to go to one of them. Go to one of them and get a degree. So if you end up coming to FIU, the first thing that you'll do at the beginning is you take all these business core classes. So the base business classes. Those are the things that kind of teach you, you know, basic financing and accounting and basic management and basic marketing classes. I actually also teach some of the marketing classes because that's what my one of my master's degrees is focused on. Once you get through all of that, you then get to the upper level classes. And then that's when you focus on the logistics specific classes. And what does our program at FIU focus on? It focuses on these things. So you see export marketing, marketing channels, logistics technology, global logistics, and principles of transportation. So as I talked about, logistics could be a lot of different things. Logistics could mean aerospace, like what Mr. Acosta is building next door with this new classroom. It could mean maritime logistics that would focus just on moving containers across the ocean. It could mean manufacturing and really focusing on creating efficiencies in manufacturing and making companies more valuable in that way. Our program has really kind of a focus on the transportation piece, which involves managing companies and not necessarily driving the trucks, but the companies that manage the truck drivers and the processes. Train and rail type transportation. So companies like Florida East Coast Rail that run those trains up and down that sometimes I know you guys are over here a little west, but if you're ever over closer to the east, closer to US 1, every once in a while, the tracks get blocked and you have this train go by for like 20 minutes, it seems like. There's a lot of products being moved there. There's companies that are managing that. Aerospace, even though we don't focus on how to fly the plane and that kind of thing, we do have classes that are focused around moving products with airplanes, which sometimes it's necessary, right? With all the produce that we bring in from South America, all the roses that you guys see selling around here. Where do you think those roses are coming from? They're not growing them out in Homestead. Those all come from Colombia or somewhere in South America. And they put them on airplanes and fly them here because once they clip them, they only live for maybe another couple weeks. So there's requirements for businesses to spend all this money so that they can then make the money back. We do work with the ports a lot also, Port Miami, Port Everglades, and companies that bring containers in and out through there. And that really is kind of a big focus of our program, is learning about how to manage those different modalities of logistics and doing things on a global basis. So this involves a lot of international type of things, working with things like customs, so you can clear things through ports when they come into the U.S. It's a lot of really interesting things going on right now as far as products being cleared. The majority of the products that you guys use here come from China. Most products that we buy here, you go to like the dollar store, like 90% of the stuff in there is coming from China. When you buy like a backpack or even like a t-shirt or probably some of these components that went into all the electronics that you have here, there's a huge amount of stuff that's coming from that country because they have all these manufacturing areas right there. But there's also some weird things going on over there too. Like there's areas where people are being forced to work in manufacturing areas, not getting paid. So there's human rights violations and things like that are going on that we're not aware of, right? We just think, oh, well, I need this backpack. And it's got a nice Nike swoosh on it. So it looks cool. But you don't necessarily think about all the other things that are happening in the back end. When you're dealing with imports and international logistics, it's your responsibility to make sure that those products are not made through one of these forced labor situations. So there's a really kind of a lot of interesting things, global things going on. Yeah, so this is a general overview of logistics and what our program is like. Again, it's fun and interesting stuff. You can make a lot of money in it. And there's more jobs out there right now than there are people looking for jobs. Sounds kind of cool to me. But I don't know, do you guys have any questions? Anything you'd like to learn about logistics? I also teach in the master's program, and you're asking about salaries. I have a student that just graduated the master's program and got a job working for Southern Glaciers, which is one of the biggest beverage distributors in the world, actually. They're based here in South Florida. They're up in Broward. And he got a job right out of the master's program making $125,000 a year. So there's a lot of money to be made out there. No one's going to just give it to you. You got to work, and you got to earn it. But if you're looking for where there's opportunities, I can point you to it. So, any questions? Yeah. What made me decide to become a professor?
And was there like a reason you became a professor instead of continuing to work at Bacardi?
Yeah. So Bacardi is a great company. There's a lot of great employees there. The family behind it is really good. It also is the alcohol industry, and that's not necessarily the best thing to be working in. And I wanted to kind of explore something that for me would be a little more maybe helpful to the community, and working with universities where I can help students get degrees where they can make $80,000 out of the undergrad, to me was kind of a good way to do that. So it was more just kind of exploring something that to me would be a little more
fulfilling.
yeah, yeah. Although I still work in that industry, I still do consulting there. It's not the only thing. And how many of you like studying? So I like studying. I like learning new stuff. I just like getting more degrees and certifications. So when I was in my 30s, I wanted to go get my PhD. And I got the PhD, and then I realized kind of the career that I could do after that. But I like doing that stuff all the time. Have you guys ever heard of Six Sigma? Six Sigma are these certifications that people get in logistics that are really kind of valuable, that help you like create efficiencies and processes. I've been studying to get my Six Sigma certifications recently. You know, I was joking when I was saying, do people like to study? Because obviously at this point in your life, you're like, wow, I've been forced to go to school all my life. I can't wait until I graduate from high school and then I can do whatever I want. But then when you get a little bit older, you realize, you know, there's actually a lot of value in studying and learning things. So the long answer is I like learning and studying. So it's just something that to me was really interesting. Any other questions? Yeah.
Do you believe social media marketing is more like effective than like the normal marketing, like like traditional marketing?
Do I think social media marketing is more effective than traditional marketing? It's a great question. I think social media marketing is more important today than traditional marketing because the younger generation is more likely to see what's on their phone than the billboard that they're walking by. However, what do you mean by effective is the question. So within marketing, there's something called impressions, which is the amount of times that you get exposed to an advertisement before you get a conversion. So traditional marketing actually has higher conversion rates because social media marketing, it gets exposed to a lot of people that doesn't end up in a conversion. And it also gets exposed to people that aren't actually potential customers. So it's a really tricky question. I think it's more important than traditional marketing, but I think companies today need a balance of both. Yeah.
So it's kind of like related to the previous question. Would you say that the engagement rate is higher? Would you say that the engagement rate is higher for traditional billboard or ad in the newspaper?
Conversion rate. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
What was the question though?
I would think that more it would be the opposite because more people would see it on a cell phone, and to make an ad on Instagram is a lot faster than you can make an ad and post it in one day. While a billboard, it takes a couple of months to print out the paperwork, whatever the design takes a bit longer.
It does take more to do those
I guess
things.
that's all the time we have.
We can talk about it more. Yeah. All right. See you guys later.